Good evening. My name is Shane, and this year I plan to celebrate my 23rd birthday with 23 lasagnas, which we will eat as sandwiches with garlic bread. Gluten-free and vegan versions of lasagna were also on the agenda. Beautiful carbohydrates substitutes, as a memorial to the class with salads and sides relegated to the side. This event is to be restaging a home dinner party I had hosted a few years before, which continues to be referred to as a convergence of people eating things they don't usually eat and then dispersing. But events happening and continuing. My mother was working on a thesis, stressed I pay my respects to the elders, past and present. They'll always be here and always will be. The site-specific work, kelley-gander-floyer, which even is restaging of, was written for Carriageworks, a site on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora nation. This work is about fidelity, and I don't know what to say for sincerity. It's trying to stay true to the intention of the work, of how we suspend things in time, place, memory, and how there are different ways of seeing different purposes. Repetition doesn't exist. There is only variation. This is the continuation. The larger work is called epoche-lacan-orbits. A string of words that are rejected how any language somehow embraces another language, resegregates in understanding. There are lots of things to say.
But fidelity, being faithful to something concrete, is difficult under conditions where the meaning of the concrete keeps on changing. I'm doing what I believe in. 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 I believe in this. I believe in this. I believe in this. I believe in this. It's possible to forget a history and blur a past. We can see this in the history of Australia. We can see it in the way we educate in institutions and in homes. Mistakes are made, and some things seem out of our control. Landslides, bushfires, war, famine, holocausts, massacres. What am I in control of? What can I do? The Texan theatre artist Robert Wilson has imprinted in my mind that designed objects against a war are just so suburban. In regulating his prolific output, in the process of explaining his work, he speaks about stillness, about silence. May I attempt to paraphrase? In the wake of 9/11, the acclaimed soprano Jessie Norman was performing in Paris, her premiere of The Winterreiser, with theatrical images by Robert Wilson and her gown by St. Laurent. She called Bob up with the image of the Twin Towers burnt into her mind's eye. She had been crying all night, and she wanted to cancel the evening's performance. She felt she would be unable to make it through the Schubert. Bob said to her, over the hotel telephone, "Jessie, it's in times like these that we truly need to hear your beautiful voice." She consented to grace the stage, and during the fifth song, the linen balm, the lime tree, began to cry, and as her voice faltered, the song came to a close. She let herself weep, lacerated surfaces, unable to do otherwise, and as her tears came to their close, she just stood there, this Nubian queen, facing the audience. And she stood there, silent, for 10 minutes, and the audience as one began to weep. Can you imagine? A jewel of a song cycle interpreted by a soprano rather than a baritone, and the silence becomes the hammering blow. 10 minutes, and weeping. Robert Wilson weeping as Christopher Knowles chooses to precisely furnish 10 minutes with the repeated phrase, tape recorder. Christopher Knowles was in an institution for brain-damaged children when Bob invited him to perform in his work and consequently constructed work from his arrangements of language. Works like A Letter for Queen Victoria, The Life and Times of Joseph Stalin, Einstein on the Beach. Bob toured with Christopher in a show, Dialogue, which ended every show with an improvisation. Christopher Knowles chose to finish an evening with tape recorder, 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 and was met by an unreceptive audience. Knowles takes Wilson's hand and says, "Bob, who cares to have your mind be so smooth? Who cares to have your mind be so smooth?" "Wow," Bob says. "Have you heard anything as beautiful?" I remember in Kelley-gander-floyer, I was thinking about having a brutal siren and subsequent evacuation of the space as part of the structure of everyone returning to the space in these crackling emergency blankets. But it is the wrong thing to do to raise an alarm when there is no real crisis, and it would be an unnecessary demonstration of the privilege within an institution to do so. Disasters do not always raise such clear alarms, and raising the alarm for crisis tends to leave stains on other things. Distress generally overwhelms crowds. What will we forget as we go to war, or as our borders are blurred? Stevie Nicks wrote Landslide in 1974 at a point when she was deciding to pursue her career and her relationship with Lindsey Buckingham. I realized then that everything could tumble. And when you're in Colorado and you're surrounded by these incredible mountains, you think avalanche. It meant the whole world could tumble around us and the landslide would bring you down. In an album titled Home, the Dixie Chicks covered this song, with the lead singer Natalie Maines commenting that her attraction to the song was with being the same age as Stevie Nicks. The Dixie Chicks version of Landslide remains their only #1 hit, but dramatically fell from the charts following their declaration of shame about President Bush as the invasion of Iraq in March 2003 was being mounted. This makes me think about how I was in a tunnel on the bus and the sun was setting over Manhattan. There was no softening, which would be the effect of music in the space, and the bus entered the Lincoln Tunnel. The cabin lighting dimming. I reach my arm up to turn on the light. I am reading. I am sitting next to the window, and the lights of the tunnel are bright, fluorescent. We are moving fast, so the page in front of me is somehow pulsing. The cool bus reading light aided by the tunnel illuminators, and Malachi Richard's self-dubbed obituary is there, published online in Gallery 99 on his website before his own political self-immolation. Why weren't other North Americans as furious as he was with the ongoing invasion and war? The cover page of his website read, "Art and music can express outrage, inspire action, or soothe and distract. Please think about priorities and be involved in things." He doused himself in petrol, lighting himself on fire by the highway under a large metal sculpture, which looks like a flame curling back on itself. The publication, written by Mark Fisher of Public Collectors, goes on to refer to Thich Khan's sketches. Suicide is an act of self-destruction, having as causes the following. 1. The lack of courage to live and to cope with difficulties. 2. Defeat by life and loss of all hope. 3. Desire for non-existence. The monk who burns himself has lost neither courage nor hope, nor does he desire non-existence. On the contrary, he is very courageous and hopeful, and aspires for something good in the future. He does not think that he is destroying himself. He believes in the good fruition of his act of self-sacrifice for the sake of others. I believe with all my heart that the monks who burnt themselves did not aim at the death of their oppressors, but only at a change in their policy. Their enemies are not man. They are intolerance, fanaticism, dictatorship, cupidity, hatred, and discrimination which lie within the heart of man. A documentary by Harun Faraki is called Indistinguishable Fire and was the first thing to really outline the horror of napalm to me. What is activism? Most of my clarinet lessons as a teenager were filled with outrage from my clarinet teacher restaging about the war, millions of satirical videos about the idiocy of George W. Bush. I didn't respond so well. When I was young, I was not so interested in the malaise of the world, nor the methods that creative industries took in absorbing it. I saw another documentary by Harun Faraki, which was titled A New Product, which Faraki describes as scenes from meetings within a company which advises corporations how to design their offices and the work done there. The film shows that words are not just tools. They have become an object of speculation. I like the word dialogue. Dialogic is a continuation, a response to what has been said before. I heard that a dialogue is back and forth, whereas communication can just be a line. I worry about the lines I take, in that all the others seem to disappear. Nothing is in a vacuum. Nothing can truly be suspended. This work, even, is about balance in a way, about making things appear right when it's more complex than being right. Talking around the careers of 4 male composers, my relationships with 2 female writing curators, but about everything else. Kelley-gander-floyer was the string of words that titled the score that was made for 100 performers who were spoken to and modelled after how I would treat myself as a performer. It was obsessed with how Mike Kelley conducted dialogues with reconstructed histories, and to restage the ending, the conceit is that 70 of the 100 people had this text ringing in their ears. 2 people opened a hydraulic door, which opens out onto a traverser outside the repurposed train yard space of Carriageworks. Trains thunder past, and the open entry and exits of the squarish room create violent currents of air through the space. 8-meter-high black wool drapes had been pushed and pulled clockwise around the room by the performers during the previous half hour, letting sunlight into the space and blocking out the shots of light given body by haze. The drapes are partially sucked out the space, and a large gold mylar blanket, which is the footprint of the space, is crumpled. The car is parked outside with a big ribbon wrapped around it, and the stereo is playing the loop of my voice very loudly across the yard. It's a quotation. "70 people begin to shout this text. Country music. Classical music. Classic music. Country classic. Contemporary country. Contemporary country. Country contemporary. Contemporary classic. Classical contemporary. Classical contemporary. Music contemporary. Classical music. Amelia Groom and I were both in the town of Castle in 2012, though not at the same time. We were there for Documenta 13, a curated exhibition of modern and contemporary art, which happens every 5 years for 100 days of summer. One of our favorite works was by C.L. Floyd, titled Till I Get It Right, in which she takes the refrain from country music queen Tammy Wynette's recording of her beautiful song Till I Get It Right. The original goes, I'll just keep on falling in love till takes out the words falling in love and instead loops, I'll just keep on till I get it right. I'll just keep on till I get it right. The white room was empty, except for the sound coming out of the small white speakers. The room next to this, in the Kunstwerk, is writing Carriageworks. I need some meaning I can memorize. The invisible pool. The white room was empty, except for a light breeze blowing through the room. The performance is almost over. Come outside. 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 One last line. I need some meaning I can memorize. I need some meaning I can memorize. I need some meaning I can memorize.
I'm getting older.